welcome to episode 17 of the Lottie and Albert podcast. My name is Lindsey and I'm a crochet designer and podcaster from the Cotswolds in the UK. Welcome to my podcast all about crochet. This is episode 17, as I said, so very warm welcome if you are a returning viewer or a subscriber and you have watched before, and a big warm hello if it's your first time watching. I hope you enjoy spending a bit of time with me and hearing me chat just generally about what I've been making, new things I've been buying, and finished objects. So I am Lottie and Albert everywhere on the internet, on Instagram, Etsy, Ravelry, and also my blog. If you want to find any of those, then I will put all the links down below in the description box. And yeah, as I said, this is my podcast. Today I'm going to be talking about, as I normally do, whips and finished objects. I've also got an update on the Little Hearts for Grace charity cow, which I have been running, and that will be coming up towards the end. And I also have a little book giveaway for this gorgeous book, which I'll be doing at the end as well. How is everybody? It's been about 3 weeks since I podcast. It's normally every 2 weeks, but it's been 3 weeks this time. Just mainly because I felt a little bit burnt out after Christmas. If you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen a couple of posts from me. I was just having a little bit of a moment, and last weekend when I was due to podcast, we had a really busy weekend. On the Saturday, we were meeting some of our new neighbours down at our local farmers market, because we'd offered to show them around the local town. And then on the Sunday, yeah, I was recovering slightly from one of my best friend's 30th birthday parties, because we were all turning 30 this year. Hers was one of the first. If anyone's interested, it was 90s pop stars dress up. There were 5 of us girls who went together. You may be able to guess what we went as. So without further ado, let's talk about crochet. I don't really have any finished objects this week. I've been working on a commission for Molly Makes, which I've just sent off. If you're a new viewer, I work for Molly Makes. I'm their commissioning editor, which means I commission all their craft projects and tutorials. It's a dream job. And I'd commissioned myself to write a pattern. It's not entirely true. But I was writing a pattern. I was writing a pattern for a future issue. And so that took up quite a bit of my time. I'd also, I made quite a few Christmas presents. Obviously, you may know if you've seen before, I made some giant amigurumi animals for my kids for Christmas, and I was making them up till about 10:30 p.m. on Christmas Eve. And just generally felt a little bit tired and overwhelmed and washed out in the few weeks after Christmas. So yeah, finished objects are a little bit thin on the ground. It's not to say I haven't started some. So whips is good, but finished objects, not so many. I did talk about some little gloves I had made for my daughter, which were based on the Fara hat pattern, which I did last year. This is a very, take this glove off. This is a very well loved hat. It's been worn a lot. I've been instructed I need to attach the pom-pom more securely because it's falling off. But this was, this is the Fara hat pattern, Fara crochet with all these cute little hearts that I made for my daughter last year. And at the start of this winter, I realised they didn't really have any mittens that fitted them. So I decided I wanted to make some mitts to match. Now the Fara hat is quite detailed in that it goes from sort of simple to more solid stitches and a bit of an ombre effect. With the gloves, I haven't replicated that exactly. I've just done the same every 3rd stitch across the rows because gloves are a lot smaller, and it just I felt like it would be harder to get the ombre look without making them really complicated. But they were inspired by, and as you can see, I've used really similar yarns. This yarn here is actually the same ball as this one. Oh, this is cream and this is white. It's not completely filthy, but you can kind of see how well loved and well washed it's been. My daughter is 3, and this has been her hat for 2 years now, so you can imagine the playgrounds and the parks that has seen. So I designed these glove patterns. I talked to you a little bit about them on the last couple of podcasts because I am going to put them out for pattern testing. And yeah, I made myself an adult version with much more subtle colours. So I used this, I can't remember the yarn brand, but I think it's called Shetland Mist. I'll put it below what brand it is. And I also picked up some Serdar Crofter DK because I really love these colours. My mum works in a wool shop locally and they had this on sale, so Mug and Sarah obviously had to buy some. But it's like pinks, a bit of a turquoisey colour, this sort of, it's yellow, but it's almost like a limey yellow, pale blue, and I really love this kind of black and white mottled part here. How it's worked up in the gloves is quite interesting because, as you see with these, this is also a Serdar Crofter, but it's the snuggly one, and the colour change is much more frequent. I feel like that is very bad grammar. The colour change is shorter, so you move more quickly from one colour to another. Whereas with this Serdar Crofter DK here, what you maybe can't tell from the ball is that actually there's quite a lot of each colour. So can you see in this length mitten, despite the fact that they are much bigger and there are more rounds than this, I've only actually achieved 2 colour changes. So I've gone from the blue into this speckledy black and white colour. But I still love them. So I suppose that would be a tip for this pattern when it finally gets released, is you need something with a shorter variegation, shorter colour change. But yeah, this is literally the the only thing that's coming into finished objects, and it's not even a half finished object. I've only got one and it doesn't have a thumb, but there we go. There we go. I'm quite pleased with. I always think mittens look huge just lying flat like that, but when you put them on, and I've got quite small hands, my fingers are coming to here. Hello. So there we are, that's my half finished object for today. That's all you've got, folks. It's not to say I haven't been doing things, as I said, but yeah, just been going back to work after Christmas is always hard, isn't it? And I only get most days I just get an hour or 2 in the evenings to do a bit of crochet, so it's been a bit few and far between, and I've been putting a lot of pressure on myself, I think, to, you know, release patterns or sell patterns, because it's a nice bonus. Ostensibly, crochet is my hobby. I do also work in the craft industry, but crochet is my hobby, and selling patterns and things on top of it is a really nice bonus. Obviously, it's nice to have a little bit of money back for the work that you put in, and I get quite a buzz from seeing people making my patterns and other things. I've got free patterns as well on my blog, and free patterns that I've done with Hobbycraft, and it's the same feeling. Like, I really enjoy, I love it when I see people tagging me on Instagram and things and making. So I think that feeling is something that I want to replicate and have again. But the reality is I don't have much time to be making patterns and doing patterns. So I'd put a few posts up on Instagram the week before last, just sort of saying, you know, putting pressure on myself and feeling not really sure. And so many people just commented and said, look, is it your hobby or is it your job? And I think that's where I feel confused, because it's not my main job. I'm not a freelance crochet designer. But also my job is very closely linked to crochet and the craft industry, so I know how to do it. It's honestly, and I feel like I'm just whinging and making excuses, which isn't probably very interesting to listen to, but I think that's where I end up putting pressure on myself. So I'm like, you can do it, come on. But I also have 2 small children in a house and a husband and a life and friends who are very neglected, the friends. And you have to do boring things like housework and iron clothes, which obviously doesn't happen very often. So there we go. After I received all that feedback online, which was really helpful, sometimes it takes somebody else, doesn't it, to just say, cut yourself some slack. I'm always telling friends, like, give yourself a break, especially if you've got a young family or a busy life, to give yourself a break sometimes. And I think that I haven't been applying the same advice to myself. So I just, the last couple of weeks, said to myself, just will work on things that I want to work on and I enjoy. And if I do end up releasing a few patterns off the back of my hobby, then that's a bonus. But it's not a timescale thing or something that has to happen at certain points every month. So there we go. And it's not like I haven't been working on other exciting things, because I have. There we go. Finally. The end of that. The only last thing I would say is, I feel like Instagram and social media gets such a bad stick, but I honestly love Instagram craft community, not least because of the advice, such as you guys gave me the other week, which was really helpful. So thank you so much. Shall we move on to whips? Because that's a little bit more exciting and less whingy. Sorry about that, guys, less whingy. I have started making something which was one of those where I just saw a picture and I thought, that is beautiful. I'll put in a picture because I feel like until you see the finished make, you can't fully appreciate it. So I'll pop in a picture here. So this is a pattern released by Sheepsies. Let's say Sheepsies, that's probably wrong. Based on their wells. Now, if you know me, you will know that I am a big fan of variegated yarn. I've done a lot of stuff with cotton flowers yarn. I made my Hotel of Bees shawl using gradient yarn, which was from a yarn cake, and also my butterfly blanket. I think that what appeals to me, this is just a teaser of what's happening, what appeals to me about gradient yarn is it keeps it really interesting, especially on bigger projects where you're maybe doing the same stitch pattern or repeat. The fact that there's a new colour change coming up, yeah, that really does it for me. So I have started this project, which is called the Crochet Between the Lines shawl, and the idea is you start with 2 wells, which are variegated. So if you haven't seen these before, they are 60% cotton and 40% acrylic. How much is on here? There's 1,000 meters on here. Is that right? It's kind of confusing. There's 1,000 meters. So these are between 215 and 225 grams. That's what it says. And there are a really fun range of colours. They're all based on, I think, dessert names. So this one is called Blueberry Bam Bam, and this one is called Lavendelicious. But there are also ones called Cotton Candy Man, Poppin' Candy, Slice of Cherry Pie, Raspberry Rocky Roads, Licorice Yum Yum. They're all written here. I'm just reading. So I saw this shawl, loved it. What I think is really interesting is there is a knitted version and there is a crochet version. So I've decided to make the crochet version. The 2 yarns contrast. So I've chosen one that starts light in the middle here and another one that starts dark in the middle here. And purple is an unusual colour for me, but I'm obviously having a purple moment inspired by this. And FYI, Pantone Colour of the Year, Ultraviolet for 2018. So, as you can see, this is the start of the shawl. You start at the teeny tiny end, and up to here, it doesn't really look like much. It's like, okay, just working in stripes. But the magic happens as it gets bigger. So hopefully that's showing up on camera. This is one side and this is the other. There is a right and a wrong side. I think this might actually be the right side. So looking at it flat, it just looks like stripes. But there's a really clever stitch play here that, can you see how the stripes are coming up? It's really clever play on colour. And obviously at the moment, I've started at the centre, and this is quite a thin slice, so it's taken me a while to work out of the first two solid colours in the middle, which are white and this really dark purple. It's looking almost black on camera, but it is dark purple. I've just hit the first really subtle colour change. I'm going in a rectangle here. I don't know how well it will show up. I think I'm actually undoing stitches. There's just one, I don't even know if you can tell, there's just one strand of grey that's come into this white and one strand of lighter purple that's come into this purple. But what will happen over time, obviously, is that we'll work through the other colour changes. So this purple's going to lighter, this blue's going into grey, and then, well, the white's going into grey and then blue. And so not only do you have this contrast in the lines, but you also end up with a colour change, which, considering it's basically just 2 stitches, I think is just incredibly clever design-wise, and is going to look stunning as a finished shawl. But I have some way to go. And I know from when I did the Liula cowl, which I may run and grab, that I do lose momentum. So I've been trying to be fairly monogamous with this, and it has been a little bit of a slow grower because these are rows of essentially double crochet UK, single crochet US, and the way you can see the stripes, each row is 2 rows and it's increasing on this edge. So it's a paid for pattern, but I think it was really cheap. It was only something like £1 or £2 in UK terms. And starting at the end of this month, 31st of January 2018, they are having a make-along. So it's not a cow with a K or a cow with a C, it's a mal with an M, because it's a make-along. If you are a knitter or a crocheter, they want everybody to do them at the same time, which I think is a really nice idea, because often you only see either or. Some designers, like is it the Velvet Acorn? She does a lot of children's wear and apparel, and I noticed that she often releases patterns in knit and in crochet, but not many people do it. So the crochet between the lines shawl and the knitted version, which I think might just be called between the lines, but I'll find out and put here so you can see if you want to make a knitted one instead. They obviously look slightly different. The knitted one, possibly the colours are even more blended. And I did consider making the knitted one because I have started doing a little bit of knitting. But do you know what? I just thought this is so fun. I just love this colour play. It's so fun. So that's been my big make of late. And yeah, I've just been trying to be fairly monogamous on it, which I'm still enjoying at the moment, and I've still got momentum. And I think that is the key. I need to continue while I have momentum. I'm just going to run and get my Liula because I feel that is a good demonstration of me needing to continue while I have momentum. Bear with me. What I also forgot to say about my crochet between the lines shawl is that I did not buy either of those whirls, but instead I appealed to the wonderful craft community online and swapped them. So I had 2, 3 cotton flowers left. This is cotton flowers yarn that I had quite a few of. They're very similar in that they are variegated yarn cakes in an ombre look. Again, 1,000 meters, and about the same weight and the same ply. The main difference, well, in fact, even these are 50% cotton and 50% acrylic. But and I did start the crochet between the lines shawl with 2 of my cotton flowers yarns. But I just wasn't feeling it, and I wasn't feeling the colours, and it's unusual for me. Normally I'm a bit of a bodger, and I won't necessarily, very rarely will I buy the yarn that the pattern specifies. Normally I just try and use something else, and then it doesn't turn out right because I haven't even used like the right fibre or the right weight. Sometimes it works out. it's probably just partly laziness on my part, and because when I see something I really like, I just want to start making it. Which is sort of what happened. I saw the pattern and really loved it. I thought, well, I've got a couple of cotton flowers left. I'll try. And I just wasn't digging the colours, and I knew because it was a big project and it was going to take some time to invest that I needed to really be loving the yarn that I was working with. So I put a little post online and I said, does anybody want to swap? I've got 2 cotton flowers that I hadn't opened. Does anybody want to swap for a sheepsie's whirl? And I had loads of responses. So I ended up swapping, and this Blueberry Bam Bam came from Stitchy Snail, and this Lavendelicious came from With My Hands, who also has a yarn shop where she stocks a lot of whirls. Stitchy Snail just happened to have a lot of whirls, which so jealous because they're beautiful and amazing. And so both of them had a couple that I could choose from, and yeah, these are the ones I chose because I wanted that high contrast and I was really vibing some purple, so I wanted that lighter centre, darker centre, going to darker outer, lighter outer. I think the pattern actually uses Lavendelicious, and then it's not Blueberry Bam Bam. What does the pattern use? Oh, I can't remember. You'll see if you buy it. But yeah, they were just so generous and happy to swap. So we did a little swapsy for both of them. With My Hands, has a yarn shop, is selling. These are normally, I think, £20. She's selling 2 balls at the moment for like a special offer price. So she didn't ask me to promote, but I just noticed and I thought, because she was so kind to swap with me, if you are interested and you would like to make one too, check out the shop. I'll put it here now because I know that she's got an offer on 2 balls. So yeah, really excited. But the cotton flowers I've used to get in a tangle. Cotton flowers I've used before. If you are a long time viewer, you will remember my Liula. So this was a pattern by Emma Potter of Potter and Bloom that she released a few months ago, based on using a whole skein of variegated cotton flowers yarn. It was really popular, loads of people were doing it, and as you can see, it's not I did quite a bit. Sorry, that was my West Country accent coming through. And I'm pretty much halfway through my roll, and then I just hit a little bit of a wall, and I was making this using a 4mm hook, which is giving me a really nice drape, but was possibly just half a size too big. I think maybe I should have used a 3.5, because it was giving me really bad hand cramp. And that is an excuse, because I could just do, say, 2 rows a day and I'd get there eventually, wouldn't I? And I probably wouldn't give myself RSA. But yeah, it will eventually, when it's finished, go from this pink to the dark green. Or, I mean, I could stop now, but it's not even really long enough to wrap round once. So I kind of thought, you know, this is more of a spring project or a summer project, so it would look really beautiful at a wedding, wouldn't it? We'll see. I'm sure that I will finish it one day. But it's sort of fallen out of favour. So the point I'm trying to make is not that I'm lazy and terrible person. The point I'm trying to make is that I've been fairly monogamous to the crochet between the lines shawl, because I know the same thing will happen again if I don't plough on at this beginning stage where I've got the enthusiasm for the project, because I know myself too well. Anybody else like that? Anybody else fickle and lose interest with their crafts? That's my main whip. I've got other ones. Obviously I have, sorry about that. I've got some big blankets I'm doing, and I am still doing those. I'm at pom-pom stage for 2 of them, which means I've got something like 96 pom-poms to make. That'll be the next finished objects once I've done the pom-poms. And I'm also making a granny square blanket for my daughter. I need to make a second glove for myself. So I do have a few whips on, but I haven't brought many of them down today because there's not much point showing you all the things I haven't done when we're being positive people, being positive about the nice things we are doing. I'm going to move on to new things and show you some of the new things I have been acquiring. My little Crofter DK was one that I'm using for my mittens. I also had the latest instalment of my What the Tea Yarn Club, which is a subscription that I'm signed up to with Ohforhookssake. I've talked about Ohforhookssake and her yarn before because I've made some amazing socks from her yarn in crochet, and also she dyed me the most beautiful leopard print sock blank, which I'll put a picture of here in. I am yet to use. This was this month's instalment. It's called Steel River. It's 75% merino and 25% nylon. And there's 100 gram here. This is really beautiful. It's like a dark grey with just a little pop of blue and paler grey. I'll take it out of the wrapper. I love grey and I love blue, so this is right up my street. If I was buying it off cuff, I probably wouldn't have gone for a darker grey. I like really pale mild grey, but I think that this is the perfect kind of yarn as like a contrast in a project. And I was having a little look. Once this arrived, it came with some really beautiful Ceylon tea bags, and the inspiration for Steel River was the river teas. I think that's what she said. Up north, where Becky lives. She doesn't come from Yorkshire. Sorry about that accent, Becky, if you're watching. The tea comes from the Tea Shed, who are based in Newcastle. And she says, being a northern girl, how could she resist their northern brew? Going along with the northern theme, the yarn is called Steel River and it's inspired by the river Tees. I grew up on the Tea side and the steel works were what gave the river its nickname. I remember looking into the shifty steely waters as a child and was reminded of this again when we took a freezing walk there over the holidays. So, here we go. This is the yarn. Came with some chocolate too, which I've eaten. That always happens. Whenever I show my tea and yarn club, you never see the chocolate because it gets eaten. I don't know if people are doing like no sugar January or dry January. I am not. That has not happened over here. My husband is. I am not. I prefer personally to just try and moderate rather than ban myself from things, because if I ban myself from things then I just want to eat or drink them. So I ate the chocolate. This is the beautiful yarn, and I was looking back, so this was they're every other month. This was last times, you may remember, with a really cute little tea keeper, which was like a bounty inspiration. So again, like blues in here. And then this was the first one, which was the lavender inspiration. And actually, I then paired it with this from my stash and thought what a lovely mix these would make, picking out the greens or even just these three together. Bit of blue, bit of green. There's a green flack in this one. Just dropped it. Honestly, it wouldn't be my podcast if I didn't drop something, right? So yeah, feeling like a bigger project in these. I also have this Vicky Brown, really nice pink, so maybe like these three together are also really nice. Are you feeling it? Or this one as a darker, oh my goodness. the question is, do I keep going and adding yarn to my stash and possibly never making anything? Because when does it become that crochet is your hobby, and when does it become that collecting yarn is your hobby? Anybody else? And you see some people's Instagrams or podcasts and they've got those IKEA units, obviously because it has to be one of the IKEA units, full of hand-dyed yarn. And I just think, A, wow, how much money have they invested in their yarn collection? B, how beautiful. And then C, how do they have the time to use it? Because I'm already thinking, these are all 4-ply sock yarns. They're going to take some time to make. Maybe I just need to get quicker. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe buying yarn's not the problem. It's just my speed. Let's say that. Although it's my main new purchase. One beautiful Steel River yarn. From my Ohforhookssake tea and yarn subscription box, which I highly recommend if anybody. I love tea, and I love getting loose leaf and indie teas. I didn't even know that was a thing until a few months ago, and now it's one of my favourite things. What else do I have to talk to you about? Oh, we're going to take a little talk now. Honestly. I'm going to talk about the Little Hearts for Grace crochet along charity cowl, of which I have made a little beautiful wall here from just a few of the squares that came in last week. Now, we're into like the last 2 weeks of the cowl, and I just want to thank you because I launched it, Jen and I launched it in December, and I know December is a tricky month and a funny month, and we had a really great response. But I thought at the start of January, I'll do another little, push, just to remind people, to see if anybody else who was thinking about making one but didn't have the time in December would like to make one in January. And I asked the designers who had really kindly given their time if they felt like they could share their square again, either on their stories on Instagram or on their blog or wherever, just to give another little reminder to people that we are making this charity blanket, and that it finishes at the end of January, mainly because we had to put a time limit on it. Jen is having a baby in February, so she's about 8.5 months pregnant now, quite uncomfortable. And yeah, if she is going to help with the making up, then our deadline needs to be the end of January, really. So we did that. We did another little hello, don't forget, we're doing this cowl if you'd like to get involved. And I cannot tell you how blown away I've been in the last week or so from the response. So many people sharing it, sending us love, and making and sending squares. So thank you so much if you have shared it, or even just liked a post or made a square, because you have made us so happy. And we've got some beautiful squares coming in now. We're definitely I think getting there for having enough to make a blanket. I haven't actually done a count. I need to do a count. I opened loads of squares and I started stacking them up on my blocking board, and then they got about this high and my blocking board got full. I was supposed to be seeing Jan at the start of this week, and so I saved a load of parcels for her to open. Our local yarn shop in Stitches has very kindly agreed to be the receiver, the postal address for all the packages. So they've all been being delivered there, and because my mum works there, very handy, she's then been bringing the parcels to me, or I've been picking them up on my day off. And so I've sort of ended up with all the parcels, which is fine. I'm more than happy with that, but I thought, obviously Jen's been a really big part of it and helped me do it. It'd be nice for her to open some as well, because it's a little bit like your birthday and you get a big stack of envelopes with heart squares in. So I'd saved a big stack of, 15 parcels for her to open. And then she's been really poorly this week, and like I said, 8.5 months pregnant and poorly, and I work in the day, so we can only see each other in the evenings. We found it hard to meet up, and she had to call a rain check. So now I'm like, I want to open all these parcels. And then I have had another delivery from my mum, and I know from you guys that you've been sending them, a lot of you have been sending them in the last couple of weeks, so I think there are probably more on their way. I will probably just open them. I think I'm going to have to, because I want to thank people as well and share pictures online, and I'm sure there'll be another batch through that Jen can open. God, I'm like the oldest sibling on somebody's birthday, just opening presents for them. So yeah, I thought I'd put a few from the most recent batch I received up on the wall, and just look how beautiful they are. Thank you again. If you haven't heard of the cowl before and you are interested, there are 8 free patterns on my blog, which you can go and click on the square that you like. We've got traditional granny, like this one. This is the bobble heart design. This is Jelly Bean Junction's design. This is Kaidalis's bobble design. This is Emily from Make. She's done a corner to corner design. She's been really popular. Sarah from Annaboo's House has done this really cute little heart motify one. And yeah, there are others who are not represented by this little wall, but go on, click on it. It's a free pattern. Scrap yarn, DK, acrylic or cotton, whatever you have. We've asked for kind of purples and pastels. But yeah, whatever you have, honestly. And then if you're in the UK, you've definitely still got time to post it. If you're outside the UK, I mean, if you've made one, send it. Honestly, like we will wait, or we will make a second one, or whatever. Just don't feel massively pressured by time. There is that date there, but I'm a laid back person. It's loose. It's loose. If you're in the southwest of England, in February, I'm hoping to, in February we're hoping to organise a making up day. So if you're interested in helping us join some squares together, I'm based in Gloucestershire, near Stroud in the UK. If you are anywhere near Gloucestershire or feel able or want to travel, then I'm going to put details of that up. It'll probably be the second weekend in February, 2nd or 3rd. Need to work out calendar and find a location. But yeah, if you're up for it, we pretty much just need people to double crochet some squares together, you know, an hour or two, find somewhere where we can get tea and biscuits, and it'll be lovely to meet some faces of people. So watch this space. I'll probably put the details up on my blog and on Instagram, because if I wait 2 weeks to say on here, probably not enough time for people to get organised. So thank you so much to anybody who sent a square in. I realise that if you're not involved, that this might not be the most interesting thing to hear about, but it's really important to me, and it's been a big part of what I've been working on over the last few weeks. So thank you for watching and listening. Last but not least, I have a little book giveaway. If you watch the podcast, I think it was episode 15, I did a little book review of this gorgeous book, which is Crochet Kids Bags by Chaby Patterns, which is a Meteor Books publication. And yeah, as I showed you last time, it's a really cute collection of, I think there are 25 different bags, and I was sent it to see if I wanted to review it. Here's a selection of the patterns inside. So cute. And I was saying I really liked these little lion bum bags and the monkey, and this one is adorable too. I ended up with 2 copies of this, I think just by mistake. But obviously, I don't need 2 copies, so I thought I'd share the love and just do a little giveaway here. If anybody likes it or wanted to make any, I'll just send this out to you guys. Just comment below and say that you'd like to be entered in the comments, and I will pick somebody from the comments. So yeah, it's that easy. I'll run it until, I'll do 2 weeks. So basically, if you're watching this and it's my most recent podcast, then you can still enter, and I will draw and announce the winner on the next podcast in 2 weeks' time. So the date today is the 20th of January. So what will that take us to? It'll be like the 3rd of February, Saturday the 3rd of February. I'll announce the winner of this little cute backpack giveaway. So there we go. Just comment below. Say that you would like to be entered, and you will be entered, and I can send it out to you in the post. Happy entering. I'll put all the details in the description box below. If you haven't caught what I've said and you want to read, it'll be in the description box below. So there we go. Not many finished objects today, but a few new whips, some beautiful yarn, and some beautiful squares courtesy of all you amazing people who have so kindly given your time to help. And a little bookie giveaway of a super cute book. I hope that today's has felt a bit disjointed, a little bit like just me rambling. But then I always feel like that, and people still seem to watch, so cheers guys. If you have enjoyed, feel free to give me a thumbs up or to subscribe, and you will then get details of the next podcasts when I post them. So yeah, thank you. I'm also, as I said, on Instagram if you want to follow along with me on there, and the Little Hearts for Grace page is really active at the moment too. I will be obviously posting details of the making up session and yeah, the finished blanket as it starts to take shape. So I'll see you all in 2 weeks' time. Have a wonderful crafty 2 weeks, and let me know what you've been up to in the comments. It's always nice to get some feedback and to chat in the comments. So thank you guys, thanks for watching, bye bye.